We're going to do most of what I'm doing lately is questions that I'm getting because I think we pretty well covered Hashimoto's from top to bottom over the last year, whatever it is. But so the specific question that I got that I'm going over today is, can Hashimoto's cause pain? That was kind of an interesting one because that brings me back to when I first started doing functional medicine, and functional medicine really evolved relative to addressing chronic pain. I think it's fair to say specifically chronic fatigue, immunodeficiency disease, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, just that pain, that like peripheral neuropathies and those conditions. And I was working with a gentleman who was close to my mentor, Dr. Krasian, and every time I would have a hard case, because I was just starting out, I would call and I would say, "What do I do on this case?" And he would always say, "Test the thyroid." So finally, he said, "Are you not testing the thyroid?" And at that time, I was trying to save people money, still trying to save people money, but at that time, I was trying to save people money because the testing we were doing was so crazy. It was thousands and thousands of dollars out of pocket because we didn't know what to do. So I wouldn't run one thyroid lab marker, and so I called him and he said, "Dr. Krasian has a message for you. He says, if you don't test the thyroid on every chronic pain patient that comes in the door, he's not talking to you anymore. He's not going to communicate with you anymore." And I was like, So of course I tested the next 10 people who had chronic pain for Hashimoto's, and 7 of them tested positive. And that was with the parameters that we were using back then, which were much wider than the parameters today. So I suspect it could have been even more, but that kind of opened my eyes. So the answer is yes. And the reasons are so many, it would take me easy an hour to go over them. But I'll just kind of give you the concept, the idea, and a few specifics. So I mean, certainly when Hashimoto starts to flare up, when you get a Hashimoto's flare particularly, or maybe just have a low grade irritation to your thyroid because there's variations from 1 to 10 as far as how severe your flares could be. You're creating inflammation. You're also creating, in many cases, but not all, you're also creating damage to the thyroid. Those of you have to keep raising your thyroid medication or it's all over the place. Your thyroid's being damaged. And then when that happens, it's vomiting out hormones. I mean, you damaged a cell that has T4 and T3 in it. They go into the system. And then you have too much thyroid hormone in your system, and then that can create an inflammatory response. And then if you have vulnerabilities throughout your system, because Hashimoto's patients don't come in here with Hashimoto's. They come in here with Hashimoto's and gut problems, and Hashimoto's and celiac, and Hashimoto's and GAD antibodies to their cerebellum. They don't come in here with like one thing. So then all of those things will flare up, and that is a source of a connection of pain to Hashimoto's. Hashimoto's also flares up several of your hormones. But I think the biggest thing is it creates these swellings. For example, one of the things that was interesting to me as someone who practiced chiropractic for a long time is Hashimoto's can actually cause swelling in certain areas of your system that will cause pain that will mimic like a pinched nerve. So a lot of people will get swelling in this area from the Hashimoto's, and then that'll cause a pinched nerve that will maybe lead your chiropractor to believe they have a pinched nerve in your neck because it's here. And the same thing will happen in the groin, and so you can get a sciatica type pain from it. So that's another source of pain. Then you get into the fact that Hashimoto's is maddening. It's hypothyroidism largely, and then it intermittently morphs into a hyperthyroid response. When you have the hypothyroid aspect of it, it slows everything down. If it alters your blood sugar, what a lot of you may not realize is, blood sugar goes to your brain. Blood sugar is necessary in your brain, your muscles, your red blood cells. But if you're altering blood sugar physiology to your muscles, you're gonna get pains. That you're gonna get achy muscles. You're gonna get muscles that just, I remember what I used to say. Like I ache all over. I feel like every fiber of my body is like aching. You'll get, and then it certainly drops your blood sugar to your brain. Yeah, it's definitely one of the causes of migraines. It's a mechanism where Hashimoto's control your thyroid essentially controls your metabolism, and when your metabolism goes down, the ability of your cells to make energy is limited, and then all of those metabolic processes, whether it's blood sugar, whether it's processing your B vitamins, your liver goes down. So now your liver's not processing your fats right, your B vitamins. You go to the doctor. Now you got high cholesterol and high LDLs because your liver is not processing properly because you have a hypothyroid. So they put you on a statin drug, which screws up all your CoQ10 and all your muscles, and then you get pain from that. That was a shot across the bow there. So I mean, it's connected to chronic pain in consistently across the board. If I learned a lesson back then, it was if a patient comes in here, this was the lesson. If a patient comes in here and they're in chronic pain and or they have the mystery disease, and the mystery disease is I'm hurting everywhere, I got every symptom known in existence to man and woman, and all of my tests are normal, then check the antibodies for Hashimoto. That was a clinical pearl that we had a long time ago, and I think it still holds true. So Hashimoto's can absolutely cause or perpetuate a lot of mechanisms in your body that create chronic pain, and I'll just leave it there because that'll keep going on for a long time. So the answer is yes, Hashimoto's can cause chronic pain.